to this installment of the Please Do Tell podcast. I am your homegirl, Ronnika, and I know y'all know about the change, right? The relaunch? Okay, just making sure you know. But if you don't know, we are all in the spirit of themes, so all of our stories will be themed. So this month, we're really talking about knowing our worth, rediscovering our worth, and when did we lose it? So I'm going to share a quick story time with you regarding, because I've had actually quite a few people ask me about where's the podcast been. I had to really sit back and think about I need to come back and be completely transparent with you all about a number of things. So this particular story time today will be all about me, which I don't usually do. So I'm going to start with a story of that happened about, we talk about completion. It was 7 years ago when this story actually, I would say, changed the course of my life. So if you're ready, let's do this. So, are you a black girl that didn't always value her worth? So I'm not alone. Okay, so last week an article was published in the 19news.com, and I really had to be transparent about myself and the pay gap between black women, and as they were saying in the article, and everyone else. I had just graduated from grad school, and I was offered a job in Texas. The gentleman who worked in HR presented the terms to me, and I agreed. So contingent upon a pay increase after my 90 days, I accepted the position because at that time I was coming out of school. I had no job lead, so it was either stay where I was in North Carolina or go back to Michigan, which is my home state. So while I didn't expect to work as much as I did, I was working over 40 hours a week. I would pretty much just have like one day off. I was literally working to keep a roof over my head, and nothing else really. During that time, I made time to write my children's book, which was Adventures of Alley Cats, the book one of the Missing President, and I was able to launch the Final 48 project, which I feel like quite a few of you know. It's the journey of grief in the black community. So after that position, I was actually laid off, so I was there for a year. And I got my papers and saying like, hey, we're going to give you a severance package and send you on your way. They didn't know that I was already planning for my return back to Michigan because I kind of got tired of moving around so much. It seems like every 6 months to a year, I was either moving for job, for school, and one time for what I thought was love. That's another story time for another day. So in that particular 19th News article, I talk about me moving back and actually going to the local, local organizations, seeing if I can volunteer or even like part-time employment. So I did a few part-time jobs until my severance had stopped. And I said, you know what, maybe it's time for me to go back to work. I have big girl bills now. And so I had a best friend, well, still is my best friend, just relocated. My best friend said, I need someone in my education department and you need a job. So what can we do? So he, and I don't think I've ever told this story openly, publicly, just the way I am now. I actually went in, spoke with his boss, and his boss said to me, someone with a master's degree has never come across our table. I can offer you $14.50 an hour, and it's not full time. Can you imagine the gut punch that I had in that moment? And even it's hard to talk about it today because I think about, you accepted that. You accepted that with the plan of things are going to get better, and sometimes they do and sometimes they do not. So within 6 months, I was offered, because of my exemplary work, I would say, I was offered a full-time position. I accepted it, and to know that one of my teammates also accepted a full-time position for the same pay. Now, when I told my then best friend and boss at the time, I said, this is the pay and how am I supposed to live? And he said, you show up, you do what you have to do, and we'll make sure you get full-time pay. When I tell you, it was not only to make myself a living, but to give back to the people that I was now working with. Like, that was my mission now. I can't worry about the money right now because I'm believing that greater is coming. And then I also did not want it to be, this is also a reflection of my best friend. I have to show up and prove like this was a good hire. Even though it was an insulting pay, this was a good hire. So as I stated before, I was offered a full-time position. And so my best friend got another position out of state, so he then moved. And so I got a new boss whom I grew up with as well. So you have to think we're in a very small community. And this is when that black girl magic kicked in and when I knew like, okay, this is what I want to do even beyond this job. So before my best friend moved, he actually he organized this event for, I would say, seasoned alum of the area, of the Ben Harbor area. So that means we had Dr. Charles Henderson, we had Carol Burden, Dr. Rutley, Mr. Lonnie Baltimore, and Ernie Hudson. So if you know me at all, the people that I just named are my parents' peers. My parents and my aunts and uncles, like all of them grew up together. So I felt that it was a charge for me to make sure that we showed up and showed out when it comes to working with the people that were going to be asking these panelist questions. So, of course, during the planning period, I'm showing the young people, like, how do you research? How do you come up with questions, good questions to ask these elders? These are their elders that we're going to be interviewing. And so they're going through their research and they're reading their bios because the bios were submitted beforehand. They're reading their bios. And I said, what do we really want to know? What do we want to know that's going to just really engage the crowd, engage our panelists and engage the crowd, right? So the kids are engaged. They're engaged. And then admin comes in and says, we want to see the questions. And before I even knew it, and now that I think back on it, it was probably a little defiant, just a little, because I said, these are my parents' people. These are some of my best friends' relatives. And I was entrusted with the task of doing a stellar job with young people, presenting questions to area alum. So no, you cannot see the questions. No, you can't see the questions. No, you're going to hear them just like everybody else. I don't think I even let my boss see them because he said to me, I'm trusting you with this task. I threw it on you last minute and I'm trusting you with getting it done. So there's just a couple, and it's funny because I still have the pictures of the young people and the questions on the board, on the whiteboard. So let me give you just one of the questions that blew the crowd away. So one of the questions to Dr. Henderson was, what is your favorite quote and why? Not knowing that maybe a few months prior to that, he had just suffered the loss of his mother. So his quote was a quote that his mother would always tell him. So that was an emotional draw. And I'm actually telling the young people like, oh, you have to ask these questions with confidence. Even if you have them on a cue card, look down just a little, but make sure whatever you do that you stand in what you're asking. And I really hope that Dr. Rutley watches this particular episode because I'm sure he'll remember this question. One of the questions was, Dr. Rutley, you attended a PWI and you are now the president of a historically black college and university. Can you tell me what navigating those two worlds has been like? He sat back in that chair and he said, "Excuse me, y'all, but that was a damn good question." And I saw the admin who now asked me to see those questions prior, like, "I got you now. I made you a believer, right?" Because not only did you get that reaction from Dr. Rully, but this young person that asked that question hears all the rumbles behind them and knows that they've just won over the crowd. Can you imagine that? And can you imagine I was doing that for $14.50 an hour? So I knew in that moment that I wanted to, if I wasn't helping people ask the questions, then I was helping them tell their stories. And that's when I found my worth in a situation that was, it's sometimes hard to bear. So whenever you find yourself struggling with, I don't know if this is right for me, they don't understand my worth, I want you to find your own worth. I had to find my own worth in those moments. That was proven to those young people, to themselves, and to myself, that you got this. So if you want to read more about the article that I actually referenced earlier, I will put them in the show notes again. And again, know your worth. We'll be right back.